Hey y'all! Beating Pokemon Crystal using only one Wooper felt like I was being tag teamed, so this week I'm hoping we can have an easier time. I'm gonna try to beat Pokemon Crystal using only one MARILL. As usual, the rules are I can only use MARILL in battle, and I can't use any trainer items in battle. By the way, if you like this kind of content and want to see more, be sure to subscribe and check out more of these videos on my channel. MARILL is famous from the anime for being one of Tracy's Pokemon. You remember Tracy, right? He was that character that the anime shoehorned in to try to replace Brock because they were worried that Western audiences might find him culturally insensitive. Did I also mention that Tracy sucked and no one likes him and you can't replace Brock? How dare you even try? Ah, man after my own heart. When early images of MARILL from Japanese media started making their way to American video game tabloids, rumors circulated of a new Pokemon, Peekablu, which is ironic since many of these magazines literally show its name in Japanese to be MARILL. Americans are so stupid. Now that my rant is over, let's talk about the stats and moves in this game. The move pool is actually not bad. There's water and ice, and that's often all the coverage we really need. And the stats are where things get a little dicey. Honestly, the HP and defenses aren't that bad, but the attack and special attack are kinda terrible. Looks like the designers blew it with this one. Alright, let's do it. Off at Professor Elm's lab, I used the Universal Pokemon Randomizer to replace Totodile with MARILL so that our rival will pick the Grass-type Chikorita. MARILL is a Water-type Pokemon that is weak to Grass moves, so it should be the most difficult for us to handle. With such pitiful offenses, MARILL is a mouse Pokemon better suited for ferrying us across the water rather than actually battling. So I nickname ours the SS Nawqua. MARILL starts off with just Tackle and Defense Curl. Right away, you can see how our minuscule offenses are biting us in the butt. MARILL is able to reduce Chikorita's tackle damage with a Defense Curl, but Chikorita is taking about the same from our tackle, but without any defense boosts. It's gonna be a real pain to beat this thing in the future with low stats and only normal and water moves. And this is usually the part of the paragraph where I'd make some kind of joke, but at this point, I can't decide between doing mouse versus cheese puns. Oh well, guess I'll figure it out. I go! Woo, we're doing both. After beating Bubs, I head to the Violet City Gym to take on the leader Faulkner and his Flying Freaks. I'm a little nervous going into this one since I had some troubles with the Bellsprout Tower, but as soon as I see that his Pidgey isn't going for Mud Slaps to lower our accuracy, I breathe a sigh of relief. After all, you came here to see a Pokemon challenge, not 3 blind mice. I can spam Defense Curl to raise our defense to the point where we easily win this battle. And doing less damage to his Pokemon doesn't matter as much when his Pokemon do less damage to us as well. We're evenly matched. Face to face, a real tete-a-tete, or should I say, a rat-a-rat. Now in Azalea Town, I'm ready to take on Bugsy the Bug-type gym leader for the Hive Badge. And you might be surprised to find out that MARILL completely swept Bugsy's team. That's because, along the way to the gym, MARILL learned the move Rollout, and with the combination of Defense Curl plus Rollout, we're able to chip and Dale out some major damage. Okay, I can already hear you keyboard warriors chiming in about how we use Defense Curl plus Rollout in so many videos, but to be fair, this time is different. A lot of those times, I had to teach those moves via TM, but here, MARILL learned them by level up, so it's clear to me that the game designers wanted people to use MARILL in this way, so I'm gonna. Also, just look at it. It's practically a roly-poly. What am I supposed to do? You want me to stand in the way of MARILL's dreams? Do you? For shame. For shame. Now that we've snubbed Bugsy's grubs, it's time to get the dub against Bubs. And this time, despite Bubs having a Bayleaf with Razor Leaf, we have a much easier time than we did with Wooper. Because not only are we not double weak to grass, but the Defense Curl and Rollout combo is able to plow through his entire team on the first try. This would be a little more difficult without Defense Curl, since it doubles the starting damage of Rollout, which would give Bayleaf one more chance to attack us if we didn't use it. And it may not sound like much, but every Stuart little bit helps. Next up is the Goldenrod City Gym and the battle with Whitney's Miltank. This is definitely one battle where I don't feel any compunction about using Defense Curl plus Rollout whatsoever. After all, Rollout is the move that Miltank used to crush so many childhood Pokemon players' hopes and dreams. So today, for all of you malign children, I will crush Whitney with rollout just for you. I know we're all pretty fed up with her by now. I reached the rival Bubs in the Burnt Tower in Ecruteak City, and for anyone concerned that rollout is going to make this challenge trivial, oh, don't you worry, baby birds. Bubs' lead haunter almost always hits us with Curse, which deals a quarter of our max health each turn, and even if I get past it, Bubs has a Magnemite and Bayleaf, which can smash us with super effective moves. So, rollout's not actually as great as you think it is, and shut up, we don't stand a chance, and we get hickory dickory docked, and Bubs just rocked our clock. It's not until level 33 that we're able to win this battle. Even with the upgraded water move Surf, the most successful strategy was to use Defense Curl plus rollout, so sorry. Haunter, even after cutting its HP in half, requires 2 rollouts to knock out, and Magnemite also takes 2 rollouts to go down. And while these are 2 extra opportunities for Marill to be confused or paralyzed, it does mean that Bayleaf comes out and gets hit with the strongest 5th turn rollout. The timing works out perfectly here. And I guess the only hole in my plan is possibly missing rollout. You could call that a Swiss miss. Put me in a hole. Next up is a spectral showdown with the Ecruteak City gym leader Morty and his gang of ghoulish ghosts. And this one took a handful of tries. Because we have to use Defense Curl plus rollout, our strategy takes a little while to get going, leaving us open to being paralyzed by Lick or Cursed. And being Cursed is not great, but at least we don't take Cursed damage any turn where we knock out one of Morty's Pokemon. The bigger issue is being paralyzed by Lick, although in some ways it's actually a good thing. Because we're paralyzed, we can't be put to sleep by Gengar's Hypnosis, which automatically makes us lose to Curse damage, if not Dream Eater. It might be hard to leave, but it's a blessing in disguise. Now with the ability to surf outside of battle, I set sail from Olivine City and head to the Cianwood City Gym to take on the fighting-type leader Chuck. The naysayers get their wish this time because we are not going to use rollout in this battle. Instead, we spam the move Surf. It 2-hit KOs the Primeape, but takes 15 forevers to knock out the Poliwrath. And despite this mind-numbingly slow strategy, it is far more consistent than rollout. It also really helps when Chuck's Poliwrath only ever hits us with a single move, despite having ample opportunity to repeatedly use Mind Reader to guarantee his moves to hit. Chuck tried his best to take us down, and when someone tries to take down your rat using Kung Fu, I call that Splinterference. Next up is the Steel-type gym leader Jasmine. And unlike the last video with Wooper, Marill is not able to beat her on the first try. The main difference is that Marill is not immune to electric moves, so her Magnemite can decimate us with powerful super effective Thunderbolts or paralyze us with Thunder Wave. Plus, Wooper was able to set up Rain Dance to boost the power of Surf by 50%, whereas I did not teach Marill Rain Dance because we needed the space for both Defense Curl and Rollout. Plus, I don't want to set up the Rain if I can't be under my mozzarella. Oh my god. Not to make another double pun tundra, but some of these jokes are way too cheesy. With a few more levels gained by completing the Lake of Rage Team Rocket side plot, we're able to defeat Jasmine relatively easily. And with the hold item Mystic Water boosting Surf by 10%, we're often able to 1-KO the Magnemite and avoid being paralyzed or hit with Thunderbolt. And even if we do take a Thunderbolt, as long as we dodge the 70% accurate Iron Tail, we can 2-hit KO the Steelix. And it doesn't matter now that she heals with Hyper Potion, since we outspeed at this higher level. Or as I like to call it, no parm, no foul. I had to take on Price, the Ice-type gym leader in Mahogany Town, and the good times keep on rolling with Marill, who also keeps on rolling. Ice types are weak to rock, so despite Marill having a pretty bad attack stat, we're able to cleave through Price's team. This gym is always kind of a letdown, since by the time we've gone through the long and drawn-out process of beating the Lake of Rage segment of Team Rocket, knocking out Price's 3 dinky Pokemon feels a little anticlimactic. Kinda seems like a giant waste to give this guy a large gym with an extravagant ice puzzle using what I can only imagine are public funds with terrible oversight. He'd be much better off with a modest hole in the wall. With 7 gym badges in hand, we now have to take on the rival Bubs in the basement underground during the Team Rocket Radio Tower anime arc. And I'm really worried because these battles with Bubs can be super trolly anytime you have to use some kind of setup combo like Defense Curl and Rollout. But this time it was actually pretty painless. Golbat lands a Confuse Ray, but we don't hit ourselves in confusion, and we even break out of it early. We do miss a rollout, but it ends up not even mattering, as Marill is able to 1-KO both the Magnemite and the Meganium. And if those two beefy bros go down, then you know the Haunter and Sneasel don't stand a chance. I can't believe how bad Bubs is. Oh, what's that? Oh, no. I never said I was worried. Squeak for yourself. Now it's time for the final Johto gym leader, Claire the Dragon-type trainer. I originally tried defeating her using Ice Punch while holding the Never Melt Ice to boost its power by 10%, but her Dragonairs are programmed to spam Thunder Waves, which paralyze us, and that makes this battle very difficult. Near impossible to win that way. A much more effective strategy is to equip a Paralyzed Cure Berry and, just say it with me y'all, use Rollout! Listen, I get it, but I promise you that there is more to this Pokemon than just Rollout. Ah! Jeez Louise. In the meantime, here's some more rollout action. Woohoo! We take on the rival Bubs in Victory Road just before the Elite Four, but this one is not so simple. Check this out. While Bubs leads off with Sneasel, which is much easier for setting up Defense Curl, he now follows it up with Magneton. And unlike the Magnemite, which was 1-KO'd by rollout, the Magnemite survives and usually goes for Thunder Wave to paralyze. And if it misses, well, we could easily kill the rest of Bubs' team, assuming rollout hits, of course, but I'll be danged if Thunder Wave didn't paralyze us like 20 times in a row before we managed to win, so, you know, totally different. Golbat inflicts a Confuse Ray upon our round rodent, but rather than acting out and hitting itself in confusion, Marill behaves and lets us win the battle. Without further vermintroduction, here are the stats and moves at the Elite Four. Our mouse is ready to pound the Elite Four, and he even gives us a couple of Lemmy winks. But wow. We're at level 57, which seems to be relatively average for most of the Pokemon that we use in these runs. The moveset is the same as always, and we're still using Defense Curl plus Rollout. And I'm sorry, but I've been putting these videos out every week for almost 2 years straight, and at a certain point, I'm just gonna use whatever I know is going to work. What? Would you rather I use, I don't know, Dynamic Punch and flip a coin every turn just for the sake of being fancy? Come on, only an idiot like Chuck would use that move. Up first is the Psychic-type Elite Four member Will. All the rollout reactionists in the comments will be happy to know that even with our gyroscopic strategy, Will repeatedly whooped our butt. The problem is that his Xatu have so many opportunities to disrupt our rollout chain with Confuse Ray, and even a Bitter Berry isn't a perfect solution since it usually gets consumed as we're setting up Defense Curl. Plus, Will's Pokemon pack a peculiar punch with Psychic, and a lot of times, I don't even get past the Exeggutor. And look, I don't want to be using Rollout either. In fact, I wanted to replace Ice Punch with the TM for Blizzard and use that instead. But it costs so many coins at the game corner that I'd have to go to the bank and take out a Provolone. Rather than leveling up, I try a slightly different strategy. This time, I get my Defense Curl while I can against the lead Xatu, but instead of starting Rollout here, I use Ice Punches repeatedly until the Xatu and the Exeggutor go down. And we take a Leech Seed for our trouble, which drains our health each turn, but that's not a big deal. Once the Jinx comes out, now is the time to use Rollout. Jinx usually double slaps for very little damage thanks to our defense boost, and I know that Slowbro will spend a turn boosting its special defense with Amnesia, which is just the right number of turns for Rollout to take it down before it can attack us. And then it's one more Rollout to defeat his second Xatu and win the battle. Turns out, sometimes stubbornness is your worst enemy, and changing things up is the key to victory. Next up is Koga, the Poison and Bug-type Elite Four member. Rollout is already a finicky and inconsistent strategy thanks to its 90% accuracy, but it's made even worse thanks to the way Koga likes to get down. He spams evasion boosting moves like Double Team and Minimize, so when he sends out his lead Ariados, I forego Rollout to try to two-shot it with Surf instead. The Venomoth doesn't spam evasion moves, so this time I try going for Defense Curl and Rollout against it, but like I said, Rollout can miss all by its dang self. And Rollout misses so many times, in fact, that eventually Fortress gets bored and blows itself up just to put us out of our misery. This time I make a small adjustment. First, I set up Defense Curl against Ariados before going for Surfs. This just reduces the chance of us taking a Supersonic from Venomoth, but otherwise it's effectively the same as before. And this time, Rollout doesn't miss Fortress, but after setting up spikes, it goes for Protect to break our rollout chain. Surf takes it out from half health, and then Muck looks like it's going to barely survive 2 Surfs. While setting up a Minimize, I start to sweat, but a critical hit eases my worries. Then comes the Crobat, which sets up Double Team, and between Koga using a full restore, Marill being badly poisoned with Toxic, and several Ice Punches missing, I'm starting to get a little worried again. Thankfully, we had all of our health for the Crobat, and Defense Curl keeps wing attacks damage very low, giving us plenty of opportunities to finish things off. I'm sorry, are these rodent puns ratatouille much? Let me just move on. Next up is the Fighting type Elite 4 member Bruno. I make sure to heal up Marill and our small Beepy before jumping right into the battle. And Bruno leads off with his Hitmontop, which likes to go for the 2-turn move Dig. It already doesn't do much damage, which gives Marill the chance to set up 6 defense curls. Dig taking 2 turns means that we get to use 6 defense curls while only being damaged 3 times. And once we're all set up, we start making waves with Surf. After Hitmontop is the Hitmonchan, which uses the super effective Thunder Punch. It's not only a special move that ignores our defense boosts, but it also gets a critical hit. What is up with these today? This is a problem because without the critical hit, we have just enough health to take 3 cross chops from Machamp, assuming that they don't critical hit as well. We take 2 cross chops and barely survive as Bruno heals Machamp with Max Potion. And things are looking pretty despero until cross chop misses, letting us knock out Machamp and the Onix to win the battle. And Bruno sure talked a lot of smack, but it turns out he was nothing but chit-chatter. Up next is the Dark-type Elite 4 member Karen, and as per friggin' usual, she is incredibly aggravating to battle, since her lead Scumbreon is very bulky and spams Confuse Ray and Sand Attack to ruin our accuracy for the rest of the battle! Even on this attempt where we don't take a single Sand Attack, the best I can do is get to the Murkrow. Umbreon is so bulky that even with a critical hit, it takes 4 rollouts to knock it out. So once the Vileplume takes the 5th rollout and the chain ends, Gengar is free to paralyze us with Lick. I try to knock it out with Surf as it cuts its HP in half with Curse, but it just barely survives and we take an extra turn of Curse damage because of that. And then Murkrow also barely survives an Ice Punch, so we take both an extra Feint Attack and extra round of Curse damage to lose the battle. For a first try, we were so tantalizingly close. Oh man, what a Havar tease. Luckily, the solution to this problem was actually pretty simple, using a single rare candy. I know it kind of feels like a waste considering we're only 1 knockout away from level 60 anyways, but it's either use a rare candy or go back through the Elite Four again, and I do not want to do that. This time though, you can see the difference that a single level made. Not only do we get an extra point to our attack stat from leveling up, but being a level that ends with either 0, 3, 5, or 8 gives extra damage due to the way that the damage calculation is rounded in Pokemon games. And this small detail turns Rollout from a 4-hit KO to just barely a 3-hit KO on the Umbreon, meaning we get to clobber it, the Vileplume, and the Gengar before the rollout chain breaks. Gengar only gets the chance to use Curse, so we're not paralyzed going into Murkrow, and we set up another rollout. Feint Attack and Curse do a decent amount of damage, and I feel my heart fall right out of my butt as Houndoom critical hits a crunch to almost knock us out, but Marill lands the rollout to clutch out a very tense victory. Call me an optimist, but after doing so many challenges, I'm always hoping that these Karen fights will eventually be easy, but they never are. I guess I just need to curb my expectations. Now it's time for the champion battle with the last member, Lance the Dragon Master. Okay, so all you rollout reactionists, get your pitchforks ready, because Marill is coming in to smash Lance's flying types like an airborne freight train. The scariest part of this battle by far are the 2 Dragonites that spam Thunder Wave, but Lance's lead Gyarados can't really touch us. This means that we're free to set up Defense Curl and start the rollout chain. Gyarados goes down in 2 rollouts, leaving exactly 3 rollouts to take out 3 dreaded Dragonites. And after that, a single Surf surpasses the Aerodactyl, and despite being double super effective, Charizard survives rollout, but the best it can muster is a measly Hyper Beam. And I'm pretty sure a baby could have done more damage than that. More like Diaper Beam, am I right? And with Lance defeated, we have finally conquered the Pokemon League, but you know the run isn't over yet. I'm always going to consider beating the final trainer Red as the final boss of the run, unless of course a Pokemon is just impossibly bad. I set sail upon the SS Naqua to head over to Kanto to take on their 8 gym leaders to acquire all 16 badges to earn the right to challenge Red atop Mount Silver. And with the other 7 Kanto gym leaders out of the way, it's time to take on the final Kanto gym leader, Blue. At this point in the run, oftentimes I would have replaced Defense Curl and Rollout for the moves Curse and Protect, because Curse is the best boosting move in the game, and Protect allows us to stall for additional turns to get extra leftovers HP recovery. This time though I don't do that, and sure I could easily just delete the move Ice Punch, after all, who really needs it? But I decide not to. Is this because Curse isn't the most effective strategy? Ha! Oh no, that's definitely not the case. Curse, Return, and Protect are objectively better than Defense, Curl, Rollout, and Ice Punch. No, I'm doing it because sometimes the challenge is what makes things interesting. See, with Curse, this battle would have been trivial, but with just Rollout, we get to toy with our food a bit longer. Pidgeot, Alakazam, Exeggutor, and Gyarados all go down without much trouble. Heck, even the Rhydon would have gone down had Rollout not missed. But then the Arcanine comes out, and this is what it's all about. Our defense is maximized, but we still take a chunk from the special move Flamethrower, despite being resisted. And it's anyone's guess as to whether an Extreme Speed would be able to pick off the last of our health, but Blue opts to use Flamethrower as we barely survive and even take a burn. And thank goodness we pick up the knockout, because otherwise we would have lost to that burn. I gotta hand it to you, MARILL, for hanging in there. Gouda best! With all 16 badges in hand, it's time to take on the final trainer Red atop Mount Silver. We're at level 71, which might seem high, but not compared to his team of almost 80s. Hey wait, why does that sound like a crappy infomercial compilation CD? Almost 80s, featuring a flock of seagulls. I'm pretty worried about this battle, but I decide to muster up some courage and just jump right into it. And I immediately realize that this battle is just impossible right now. There are so many problems that it's hard to list them all, but let's just start with the Pikachu, shall we? Firstly, even if I wanted to use Rollout, Pikachu will just use Charm to halve our attack, which effectively ends the battle. Plus, if it lands a Thunder, we do have a slim chance to survive, but then what? We just lose as soon as the Venusaur comes out anyways. There is a better strategy, but it requires getting rid of Defense Curl and Rollout. Here's the summary. I use Protect on the first turn to dodge Pikachu's Charm and keep our attack stat intact. Then, I go for the knockout with Surf. It's a 2-hit KO, but Red likes to spam full restores, which is annoying, but also gives extra turns for leftovers health recovery. So between a careful calculated combination of protecting while Red goes for Thunder and attacking when he goes for full restores, we're able to knock out the Pikachu and get ourselves back to about half health each time. Venusaur then comes out, and I always use Blizzard first to fish for a freeze, and despite having Giga Drain, Venusaur almost always goes for the 2-turn move Solar Beam. And don't get me wrong, it's way stronger, but we can easily use Protect to dodge Solar Beam on the turn that it would normally hit. And after that, depending on how much health we have left, I use Surf to do less damage and rack up as many turns of leftovers recovery as possible. And this might seem like overkill, but believe me, it is not. We need full health by the time we get to the Espeon, and you can see here that at level 71, I never even come close. So let me cut to the chase. We had to level up a ton. So here it is. MARILL is now level 93. God dang! And don't ask me how long it took to get there, because that's Algernon of your business. And you might be thinking, oh, 22 levels, it's just going to be a blowout now. And you'd be wrong. We take much less damage from the Pikachu for sure, meaning we need to waste less time against the Venusaur, which no longer runs out of Solar Beam BP, forcing it to go for Giga Drain. Yeah, that's nice and dandy, and while I have time during the regularly scheduled Venusaur portion of this video, I'll make some important announcements. Espeon usually sets up Reflect to boost Red's team's defense, which makes taking down the Snorlax really difficult, especially when Snorlax raises its special defense with Amnesia. And on top of that, Espeon still hits really hard with Psychic, so we need to get to the Espeon with full health. The strategy is then the following. First turn, use Surf as Espeon sets up Reflect, which lasts for 5 turns, and then alternate between Protect and Surf. This will yield extra leftovers recovery to stave off psychic damage, while also allowing us to take down Espeon on the same turn that Reflect fades. Although coincidentally, this attempt was the first where Espeon never actually used Reflect. And once the Snorlax comes out, it all comes down to Dynamic Punch, which is the best option we have against it. Why do I feel like I've already talked about Dynamic Punch?
Only an idiot like Chuck would use that move.
No idea. Return and Rollout don't do damage quickly enough before we get knocked out or paralyzed by Body Slam. So Dynamic Punch is not only super effective, but it always confuses the target when it hits, and confusion can buy us extra turns to attack. That's the problem though, Dynamic Punch is only 50% accurate, so every time I click Dynamic Punch, I have to pray to Chuck E. Cheese's that it hits. Plus, Dynamic Punch has very small PP, and if Snorlax goes for rest, the battle is effectively unwinnable. In the footage you're seeing here, it might have made this look easy, but I promise you I had to reset so many times that I don't really want to talk about it. And remember that every time you have to start this battle over, you gotta do the whole song and dance to get past the first 3 Pokemon again. Red's last 2 Pokemon, the Blastoise and the Charizard, hit Marill with resisted hits, but even so, we're low on BP and can't do much to the Blastoise in return. In the end, we have just enough health though, and BP, to knock out the Charizard and win the battle. And with that, the challenge is over. Marill was an interesting Pokemon to use for a challenge. At first glance, it looks like any other generic Pikachu clone, but it has a small niche that sets it apart. I guess you could say Marill is not like any other Tom, Dick, and Jerry. As always, I want to thank you for making it to the end of this video. These videos are a lot of fun, but also a lot of work, so I really do appreciate it. There's a playlist on my channel where you can find the rest of my Pokemon Challenge videos if you want to check those out as well. And if you like this kind of content and want to see more, be sure to subscribe and enable notifications so you'll know right away the next time one of these episodes is uploaded. And if you want early access to these videos and to have your name listed in the credits, consider becoming a member or joining on Patreon. And if you have a Pokemon you want to see, let me know in the comments and I'll probably do it. Next week, I'll be trying to beat Pokemon Crystal using only one Larvitar. For now, Gorgon so long, and until next time,